Hello and welcome back, beautiful people. I'm your friend Jerry over here at Smart Credit Coaching. And in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about how to build 850 credit scores. If you've ever wondered how to reach that coveted 800 plus, if you want to be able to get the perfect credit scores ever and just never have to worry about your credit again, this guide is going to help you do just that. So in today's discussion, we're going to show you how to max out your credit score by focusing on your credit score categories because it's what makes up your credit score that really matters. Think about it this way. If you're trying to build or if you're trying to bake a bread or some brownies, let's say brownies, I love brownies. Let's say you're trying to bake some brownies and you're trying to put together the ingredients to make these brownies. It's important for you to have the right amount of ingredients in order for you to have the best brownies. So you can't put hot sauce and brownies. That probably wouldn't taste that good. You want to put in the brownies what you want to get out, which is something tasty and something delicious, but you have to put in the right amount of sugar and flour and chocolate, etc. Same thing goes for your credit scores. You have to put in the right recipe in order for you to get the credit scores that you want. So today what we're going to discuss is basically just a simple formula for building 850 credit scores that you can definitely use and just keep in mind as you're building your credit because it's going to help you keep your credit scores great and high and you'll know what to focus on. So the first thing you need to know is how your credit scores are calculated. That's a part of the recipe. So your credit scores are broken down into five categories. The first category is your payment history. This is the most important. This is the reason why people tell you guys to pay everything on time. This is why I always tell you that if you pay things late, your credit cards, loans, car loans, student loans, whatever reports on your credit, or even the things that don't report on your credit, if you don't pay it on time, if you pay things late, it's going to be impossible to have good credit because payment history is 35% of your credit score. So this is based on how often you pay your bills on time or late. So always pay things on time. 30% is based on the amount that you owe. So a lot of us, we refer to this as credit card utilization, especially because credit cards have an inverse relationship with your credit scores, which is why if you charge your credit scores high or if you max them out, your scores will decrease. But if you pay your credit cards off, your scores will go up. And so 30% of your credit score is just based on how much debt you're carrying, especially relative to how much you have available. So it's really important to keep your balances on your credit cards as low as possible. I always say just pay your credit cards off in full every single month because that's a great habit to develop if you want to stay out of credit card debt and save yourself money in interest payments. Now, I want you to look at something for a second. Between the payment history and amounts owed, that's already 65% of your credit score, which is a huge chunk. So you best believe that if you're not doing these two things right and you're not maxing out these two categories, it's going to be impossible to have 800 or perfect credit scores. Next, you have new credit. So this means how often are you opening up new credit cards or how often are you trying to open up new credit cards with new inquiries? This is only 10% of your credit score. It's not a huge chunk of your credit score. And so if you find that, you're paying things late, or if you have late pays, or if you have maxed out credit cards, but you have, 20 inquiries, focusing on the inquiries are not going to make a huge difference compared to paying down your credit cards and paying things on time. So if you find yourself wondering, well, why are my credit scores low? Take a look at these two categories first. Do I have late pays on my credit? 30, 60, 90 days late? 120 days late? Do I have even collection accounts on my credit? That's not a good thing. And if you have maxed out credit cards over 30, 40% in utilization, pay that stuff down because that's the stuff that's going to really move the needle with your credit. And then your length of credit history, meaning how long have you been building credit? A lot of people actually miss this part because they don't have any credit. So if you're somebody that doesn't have any credit cards, you never open up a loan, you don't have any established credit. And sadly, not having any credit is just about as bad as having no credit. And banks don't really want to lend to people without a reputation. So build your reputation by opening up new credit cards, opening up loans. Secured credit cards are a good option. Authorized users. There's so many different ways to build credit, but you are going to have to establish credit history over time. This is the part that takes a little time to do, but I can assure you, once you get over at least 4 years of credit history, so many different doors are going to open up for you because of that. So, at a minimum, make it a priority to get your credit history to at least 4 years of overall history to show banks that you're credible, show banks that you know what you're doing, show banks that you got some history, you got some skin in the game. You ain't new to this, you true to this, okay? That's what you want to show banks and lenders that you know what you're doing. And you do that by history. That's really what it's about, opening up new accounts and using them properly. And then credit mix, meaning your mix of credit, the different types of credit that you have on your credit report. So, do you have a mortgage? Do you have an auto loan? Do you have credit cards? Do you have some personal loans? Do you have lines of credit? There's so many different types of credit that you can get, right? And so, getting those different types of accounts is going to show lenders that you know how to use different types of loans and lending products, and you can use them properly so that they can trust you enough to give you more. Now, out of all these categories, one question that I get often is, Jerry, I've been building my credit scores. I got this to 700, but I feel stuck. It's not going anywhere. Many times the reason why that happens is because you don't have enough credit history. You don't have enough skin in the game yet. And so it takes a little time. If you find yourself plateau, but you notice that your history is less than 2 years, that's why. Because you've hit a plateau and it's just a matter of time before it moves to that next level. And so I want y'all to think about it from this perspective. Your FICO score ranges from 0 to 850, 850 being the highest score you can get, right? Which means that if each category is broken down into percentages, then there must be a certain amount of points that you can shoot for to max out your credit score. So let's break this down a little bit, right? 35% of your credit score, if you're looking at payment history, you can get 297.5 points here. Meaning if you pay everything on time, all the time, never pay anything late, you can get a total of 297 points. Period. You're not going to get too much. You're not going to get more than that. That's what you're going to get here in this category. Amounts owed. So if you're maxing out your credit cards, if you're paying them down, or if you're not even using, your credit cards and you're keeping it at a healthy level, you can max out at 255 points. That's a lot of points, y'all. Out of 850 points, then you got the new credit. That's 85 points. Those inquiries, only 85 points, y'all. That's it. So if you focusing on inquiries, it's about as much as you're going to get. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a nice amount of points that you can get, but this is over a 2-year period. So, inquiries, they expire if your credit in 2 years. So many times you don't have to focus too much on this. Your length of your credit history, 127.5 points you can get by just letting your credit age out over time, not closing accounts, keeping them open as long as possible. Like the worst thing that you can ever do is close out credit cards. I actually did this one time and it dropped my credit score over 100 points because it was the oldest credit card that I had and it was helping me build credit history. So I closed the account thinking that I was getting rid of debt, but I didn't have a balance on the credit card. So I didn't have any debt. But I just didn't understand credit. I was frustrated with credit cards at the time. I just was really uneducated. But when I learned better, I opened up that card again. I got my history back and my points came back too. So don't close any of your credit cards, keep them open. And then credit mix, you're going to get 85 points from this category too. So this is just about making sure you have a good mix of credit. Now, when you're thinking about categories, your categories are also graded through these specific metrics. Okay, so you've got utilization, you've got payment history, you've got the number of negative marks on your credit. So this is collections, late pays, defaulted student loans, charge-offs, bankruptcies. All that stuff has to go, my friend. If you want to have 800 plus credit scores, okay? Your age of your history, total accounts, inquiries, these things matter when it comes to your credit. So, what are you shooting for is the question. Well, your utilization for one needs to be between 0 and 9%. Anything over that, you do start to see some dips in your credit score. You start to get over 30%, you're going to be in some trouble. So, keep your utilization between 0 and 9% if you want to max out that category. Payment history. You can't miss no payments. None. If you miss a payment, it's going to stay on your credit reports for 7 years. So do not miss a payment on anything. In fact, so you can avoid missing payments, my favorite words, put it on autopay. 4 word story. Put it on autopay. That's going to help you eliminate this problem. Negative marks, 0. Now you can get away with one negative mark, just one, but even still with one, you're not going to get to the perfect 850. So make sure you have 0 negative marks, 0 late payments, 0 collections, 0 bankruptcies. You can't have it. Age of your history, you need to have 9 years in the game for 800 plus credit scores, my friends. So if you're thinking I'm going to get in this credit game and I'm going to build 800 credit scores in 90 days, it is not likely. You need to have at least 9 years of credit history in the game. All right. You need to build it up. It's going to take you some time. There's some ways that you could even shortcut this, but you need to have good personal credit and you need to show a history of at least 9 years. Total accounts, 21 or more. This is actually going to contribute to your credit mix. This does not mean you have to have all open accounts, but 21 accounts open and closed. That just shows that you have credit history. You know, previous loans that you've paid off, credit cards that you've opened. I mean, at one point I had like 35 credit cards for my personal side. And so there's no such thing as having too many credit cards as long as you can manage them responsibly. But 21 plus accounts means that you are seasoned, okay? Seasoned. Now, there's toddlers in the credit game, there's newborns in the credit game, and you've got teenagers in the credit game, and then you've got seasoned people in the credit game. Seasoned folks are people that have numerous accounts and many years of credit history, 9 years or more, seasoned. Inquiries, 0 to 2 over 2 years. All that running your credit all the time, stop it. In fact, you shouldn't be running your credit without proper preparation. That's one thing I always tell people. Don't go applying for loans and credit cards without a plan. Don't go applying for loans and credit cards just all willy-nilly. You need to plan out your approvals, not just be applying for stuff because somebody on TikTok told you to do so. You should never do that. One, because people online don't know your current financial circumstances. How can someone really give you advice if they don't know where you currently stand? That is very irresponsible and something that I would not suggest people to do because like I said, if they don't know your circumstances, they can't give you real advice. So these are just the general guidelines that you need to meet if you want to have excellent, always approved, perfect credit scores. Now, do you need 850 credit scores? No, you don't. If anything, the only reason why anyone would shoot for this is just to have the bragging rights of saying you had 850 credit scores. That's about it. But as long as you have 740 or above, you're in really good shape. That's a really good place to be. Okay. So I want y'all to keep this in mind. I want y'all to make note of where you're falling short in each of the scoring categories. Do you have late pays? Time to clean it up. If you've got maxed out credit cards, time to pay it off. If you don't have any accounts, you need to start opening some accounts. Stop being scared of credit. Open up some accounts. Use it. Pay it off. If you need a strategy, if you need a plan, we got you. That's what we do. We can walk you down the yellow brick road of getting qualified and getting approved for the credit that you deserve. So track your credit scores quarterly as you make improvements. So if you notice that you're falling short of some categories, it's okay. It's all about identifying the problem and starting to work towards solving it. So track your credit scores as you're addressing that problem, as you're working towards that problem. And I can assure you that you are going to have major success. So I want y'all to really marinate on this for a second and really consider, what do I need to do and what's my next step? And if you need some help, hit us up at smartcreditcoach.com. You can either fill out our pre-qualification form to work with us, or you can leave your comment below and tap the link in the what do you call it, a description, to fill out our pre-qualification form as well. But I hope y'all took something from today's training. And if you did, drop your biggest takeaway today in the comments below. I promise to read it and also respond. Again, my name is Jerry. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.